What is up, everybody? Welcome to EOP Live. We are breaking down, previewing today's matchup between the Eagles and that other terrible team. But we are talking top matchups. We are talking player of the game predictions, all that and more. Guys, if you're watching us live, please be sure to comment your vibe, how you're feeling about today's game. Let us know in the comments. Joining us, he is LJ Harrell of the Kelly Green Hour podcast. Follow him on Twitter or X at LJ Harrell54. What's up, man?
What's going on? I'm excited for the game today. Let's get it.
Let's get it. And then also joining us, my man Austin at Austin_EOP. What's good, Austin?
Dodge, how you doing, man? I'm looking forward to this. This is going to be a good one.
Yep. Let's jump into Eagles versus Jets, man. And we are going to talk top matchups to watch. All right, we've got Joey in the house saying lots of injuries across the board for both teams. My goodness, yes. LJ, lead us off, man. What's one of your matchups to watch between the Eagles and the Jets?
So I have two. I have an offensive matchup and a defensive matchup. So first on offense, it's going to be the Williams brothers, Quinnen and Quincy, against Opeta and Dallas Goedert. Opeta actually played really well last week. And that was who did we face? Why am I blanking? Who did we face last week?
The Rams.
The Rams. And going up against Aaron Donald, it feels like going up against Aaron Donald. And Eagles do well against Aaron Donald anyway, but there wasn't a drop off from Juergens to Opeta. And Quinnen Williams is another top 5 defensive tackle in the league. So it's going to be a big matchup. And then Quincy Williams has been really good for the Jets at linebacker. And, I'm anticipating him, maybe Mosley going up against Goddard. So I think that's going to be a big matchup. Get the middle of the field open so that the receivers on the outside going up against, 3rd, 4th, and 5th string cornerbacks should be able to eat over the middle or eat on the outside. And then on defense, our linebackers, however they're going to be employed, Cunningham and Morrow have been really good. Dean's coming back. We'll see if he gets thrown right into the lineup. Against Hall and Cook, look, Breece Hall is really good. Dalvin Cook hasn't really shown it with the Jets, but we know from past experience he was good with the Vikings. So our linebackers against them out the backfield, it's going to be a matchup to watch.
Absolutely. Little G says, great team and go Birds. Absolutely go Birds. Austin, what are you watching for today?
One of the main things that I was taking a lot of stock in this week is the huge disparity in terms of the quarterback position between the two teams. Zach Wilson total 911 yards, 61.1 completion percentage, 4 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Been sacked 14 times for 99 yards, pressured 54 times. Then you compare that to the stats of Jalen Hurts. He's 113 for 168, 67.3% completion percentage, close to 1,300 yards, 6 touchdowns, 4 picks, only been pressured 39 times, only sacked 12 times. So, the presence in the pocket is going to be a huge difference for these two teams. And one of the ones that LJ brought up, the Eagles defense being able to contain the Jets run defense, I feel like that's pretty much the only thing they're really going to have, because you look at their offensive line being real banged up and Zach Wilson not really being what they expected of him when he came out of BYU. There's a lot to look out for in this game, and a lot of it's going to run through the trench and just the player under center predominantly for me.
That's a really good one. I'll go right into mine. Obviously, LJ already touched on it, Quinnen Williams. And like LJ said, you look at how the Eagles have handled some of the top defensive tackles over the last few weeks. You look at Vita Vea, the Eagles held him to just 1 pressure and 0 sacks. You look at the Commanders with Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne combined, 5 pressures and 1 sack. And then last week at the Rams, they held Aaron Donald to 1 pressure and 0 sacks. That's 4 players that are really, really good, and 7 pressures and just 1 sack. So Aaron Donald, or not, Quinnen Williams is just the next one up, but this guy's every bit of 6'3", 300+ pounds. First 5 games, Quinnen Williams has 3 tackles for loss, 17 combined tackles, a fumble recovery, and a half a sack. This is a guy that gets routinely double teamed. But despite all that, still has 20 pressures this season. So I think what I'm watching is not necessarily Quinnen Williams, but it's the other guys that Quinnen Williams helps, just like Jalen Carter, just like Jordan Davidson, what he does for everyone else across that defensive line. And the dude I'm looking at today is Bryce Huff. This guy coming in, I obviously don't watch a lot of Jets games, but according to ESPN Analytics, he is 9th best among all edge rushers in the NFL with a pass rush win rate of 25%. He's only got 1 sack, but he's got 26 pressures and 8 hits on 87 pass rush snaps. For reference purposes, that's 3 more pressures than Jalen Carter. So he's not getting home, but he's been dominating, absolutely dominating. So Bryce Huff is a guy you have to watch out for. I'm looking at this also Eagles pass rush against the Jets offensive line. Elijah Vera Tucker being out is a huge storyline in this one. The Jets are 27th best in the NFL when it comes to pass protection as a team at 48%, man. This Jets team does not have a single interior offensive lineman ranked in the top 20 when it comes to pass protection, according to ESPN Analytics. So it kind of sucks that Jalen Carter is not playing this one because that was my player of the week or player of the game prediction on Tuesday. But he's out here. So we'll get into some player of the game predictions after this in a little bit. But that's definitely something you need to watch. You're going to see a guy, second-year tackle in Max Mitchell, try and replace AVT. That's a tall order, man. This guy has a horrendous pass blocking grade per PFF of 34.2. So I'm really excited about what this Eagles pass rush can do against a Jets offensive line that's really struggling.
That's always my worry, because whenever the Eagles go up against a team that has a banged up offensive line, they get 0 pressure. So hopefully it's the opposite today.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Anthony says, hey, guys, Donald Williams don't have another person to help them get through to the quarterback. Well, I just gave you one. Bryce Huff. Keep an eye on Bryce Huff. Anthony
Johnson's
says,
pretty good for them too, right?
Yeah. I think they have 3 guys in the top 20 in pass rush win rate. So they're solid.
This might be the best defensive line that the Eagles have faced up to this point in the year. So
yeah, I agree they don't have a no line, but their D line is very solid. You definitely need to kind of get ready for that. Offensively, I mean, it's the elephant in the room. It's the loss of the Jets cornerbacks. Like, who the heck is starting for the Jets cornerbacks in this one?
Former Eagle Craig James.
Man.
Craig James, guys.
That's a deep cut.
And Bryce Hall, the other Hall. It's Bryce Hall and Craig James are the starters on the outside. If Devontae and AJ don't have 100 yards, there's an issue.
Yeah. Craig James previously played for the Eagles in 2019 and 2020. He's played 1 snap on run defense this year and is being thrown in quite possibly the worst situation possible against, obviously, A.J. Brown and Devontae, who have a combined 58 catches for 831 yards and 4 touchdowns in 5 games. You look at Gardner and Reed being out. Bryce Hall, that guy's going to start on the outside. You also have a guy named Michael Carter II. He's going to be in the slot. So those are definitely the 3 guys.
In the third corner, whoever the third corner is, he's out too.
Yeah, exactly. Like, they are hurting. They are hurting on the big time. So it's going to be a really interesting game plan for our man Brian Johnson, who, let's be honest, things have gotten better and better. There's been ups and downs, but I think it's improving. And we'll get more into that when we get into our 5 keys to victory for the Eagles. But it's going to be interesting because do the Eagles decide to attack these corners, or do we decide to run the football? That's going to be something to watch.
They'll probably come out like last year's game plan. First half, let's throw the ball, get a big lead. Second half, we'll run it and kill the clock. I can see that being the game plan. Yeah,
I like that a lot. That pretty much. Does anybody else have another matchup to watch?
I mean, aside from the Eagles against opposing tight ends again this week for me, after the 20 yards from Tyler Higbee last week, the Eagles have only allowed 110 total through 5 weeks, which is in a very impressive clip, if you ask me, considering how the Eagles usually do against tight ends throughout the history of the team, and it's always going to be a big one for me with the way they've been playing so far. So you just gotta hope that Michael Carter Williams the 4 for 6. Eagles versus the tight ends, man. It's been good to see this defense really being able to clamp down on that, along with everything else they've been able to do really well this season. So you just hope the trend continues this week. Ty Conklin is a very dangerous tight end if he can get the ball in his hands and get turning upfield. So you want to be able to try and contain him.
Anthony says MCW, the former Sixer, will start at corner for the New York Jets. A fun fact here, though, I think we should give respect to this Jets defense. They have held dual threat quarterbacks in Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes to a combined 5 interceptions. So, I don't think we're going to be tearing up the Jets defense. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
I mean, they also didn't have their top 3 corners out.
That is true. That is well said.
They were healthier. And I think another big matchup is the MetLife Stadium turf. Look, we need to get out of here healthy. We have the big game against the Dolphins. We go there again later. And we go there week 18. Hopefully we won't have to play anybody. But everybody knows how awful that field is, even though they replaced it this offseason. We're already banged up. We don't need any more injuries.
Absolutely. That's huge. They're already hurting as we stand. Anthony says, I'm surprised Joe Douglas hasn't gotten fired yet.
He hasn't been bad.
Yeah, losing Aaron Rodgers is a killer. Quinn says, I don't.
4 plays into his Jet career, and he got hurt.
Yeah, it sucks. That truly sucks. Quentin says, I don't care how we win, just win.
I agree with that.
Amen. All right. That being said, let's get into our top 5 keys to victory for the Philadelphia Eagles. I'll throw it to you, Austin. Lead us off, man.
All right. My 5 keys, I'm going to start from 5, work my way up just like I did last week. Win versus tight end. Like I said, they've only allowed 110 yards to tight end so far this season. Ty Conklin can be dangerous if he gets himself turning upfield and gets those shoulders dropped. So you really got to do a lot to, keep the middle of the field sort of cluttered up so that way the ball can't get to him in good windows. Take advantage of the banged up O-line. You have some of the best interior linemen in the game. The edge rush has been really solid this year. We've been we let the guys blitz a little free sometimes. I've come to notice, especially against the banged up offensive lines. We saw that with the Commanders 2 weeks ago. Just being able to see that there's a bunch of guys that are hurt and not really looking too great on that offensive line right now. Like you said, their pass block grades haven't been awesome this season. So being able to get to Zach Wilson often is going to be very, very key to this game. Locking down Garrett Wilson. He's a very dangerous wide receiver, great speed, amazing route runner. You don't have Darius Slay this week, so you've got to have James Bradbury sort of man that number 1 spot. So sort of ruling him out of the equation completely is going to be a great way to get through this entire game. And then going to the opposite side of the ball in that kind of matchup for the Jets, no Sauce Gardner, one of their top corner, one of the better corners in this league. Not having him, you should be able to hopefully have a bit of a field day. But like you said, the dual threat quarterbacks of Josh Allen and Pat Mahomes definitely had more than they could handle with this defense during this season so far. And then my number 1 key is going to contain the Jets run. Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook can be extremely explosive. We saw what Dalvin Cook did last season. Breece Hall, even though, he suffered that really bad knee injury, he was very good in the time that we saw him in the past couple seasons. So if you can let that interior line do its work, get those wins in the trenches, be able to get to Zach Wilson and stifle that run offense, you're going to have a great afternoon.
Love it, man. Couple comments, and we'll get to LJ. Anthony says, I'm a Packers fan. I'm glad Rodgers got hurt. That bum. Oh, my God. Jeez.
That's harsh.
Oh. Brad says, what's up, guys? Eagles are going to beat the Jets. My prediction is Eagles win 34-7. We'll get to our score predictions in just a second. LJ, lead us off, man. What are your 5 keys to victory?
All right, so not in any particular order, but first, Jalen Hurts has to protect the football. You don't want to give Zach Wilson in this bad. Let's be real. Without Rodgers, it's not that. Still a good offense, but it's not a. I would say it's a less than average offense. But they would be better with Rodgers. So he can't, or the Eagles offense can't give the Jets offense a short field to allow them to get easy scoring opportunities. Devontae Smith and AJ Brown have to beat the backup corners. You have to be able to win those matchups. If you're the offensive line will provide, I believe, provide Hurts enough time to get rid of the football quickly, or not quickly, but like they're not going to allow Quentin Williams, Huff, and Johnson to get to him quick, and they should be able to win their battles. Again, I mentioned it before, the O-line against the Jets D-line, because this will be the best defensive line the Eagles have faced up to this point. And again, protect Hurts. We don't want he got into the running game last week, which I actually was happy to see. We don't want him to run when he doesn't necessarily have to. Let him get the ball out to the playmakers and let them handle getting the yards and being hit. We don't need Hurts getting hit. Number 4, don't allow Zach Wilson to beat you. He stinks. He is awful. If there's a reason for Joe Douglas to be fired, it's because he drafted Zach Wilson. I'm glad. Remember, there was that talk that Howie wanted to draft Zach Wilson. So glad it didn't happen. He is. I hated him coming out the draft. I thought he was going to be terrible, and it's exactly what's happened. He's bad. Do not let Zach Wilson beat you. And 5th, the red zone offense. Look, yes. I love that we have Jake Elliott, and I love that he's pretty much automatic. But let's stop kicking field goals. Let's score touchdowns. I don't care if it's Jalen Hurts running, and I know that's counterintuitive to what I just said of him not running the football, but whether it's him running, getting the ball to Swift, getting it to Goddard, I don't care. Just put the ball into the end zone. We're first in the league, I think, in field goal makes this year. We were like 28th last year, something like that. I forget what the exact stat is. No, let's get the ball in the end zone, put touchdowns on the ball. We're averaging 29. We should be averaging 30 points a game at least. And if we can start converting, if we can start putting 7s on the board instead of 3s, we'll do that. So the red zone offense has to get clicking again.
Brad says, I agree. The Eagles need to shut down the Jets defense and get to Zach Wilson early. I'm going to just piggyback right off of that, LJ. My number 1 is, again, just like last week, get home in the zone. What's really fun about this matchup is the Jets have the 3rd best red zone defense in the NFL. So, the Eagles have struggled in many respects. You look at this Jets defense allowing teams for touchdowns on just 31.2%. That's 3rd best behind Baltimore and Tampa Bay. I think when it comes to red zone offense, it's as simple. Sometimes things are hard, but I think it's as simple as just give the damn ball to DeAndre Swift. There is zero reason for Kenny Gainwell to be on that football field when they are in the red zone. You look at Bleeding Green Nation had an amazing tweet. I think it was Brandon Lee Gowton who had the stat. Every time Kenny G is in the game and they're in the red zone, they fail. But when DeAndre Swift is in the game, they succeed. So check that out. Just a quick shout out. But that's a big one. DeAndre Swift, no nonsense. Keep Swift in the game when the Eagles get in zone because they're great they're putting up tons of yards. They're among the top of the league, but stop with the Kenny Gainwell in the red zone. That's my number 1. Number 2 for me is stop the Jets run game. You look at, without Fletcher Cox, the Eagles still held the Rams to 3.9 yards per carry last week. Jalen Carter's out. In comes Fletcher Cox and Jordan Davis. You look at the Jets in the 2 wins this season, they ran for at least 173 yards in both of those wins. And you look at Kyron Williams last week, and he didn't do much against the Eagles. So for me, I think it's all about making this Jets team one-dimensional. I think there's a really good chance we see the Eagles put a safety in the box in this one. They don't do a lot of that, but I think we'll see the Eagles really emphasize taking out the Jets offense on early downs. Because if you can do that and thus flip the Jets into a passing offense, they're cooked. They are 28th in passing DVOA. So for me, if you take out the Jets run game and Breece Hall and all that, the Eagles have a great chance to come out with the victory here. Number 3, I want to see the Eagles keep the RPOs rolling. We saw a lot of progress last week in RPOs. Before last week, it was pretty much a hot mess, especially when it comes to passing into RPOs. So for me, I want to see that. Number 4, let's talk about the slot because that was the storyline last week. with Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. It was a tale of two halves. I want to see the second half be a 4-quarter performance here. And was this week 6? Garrett Wilson, like you said, Austin, that guy has 20 receptions in the slot this year. That's the 7th most among all NFL wide receivers. He's caught 70% of his passes there. Some other guys to know: Randall Cobb, 44% in the slot. Is it Lazard? I think. Yeah, Lazard has 15%. So Garrett Wilson and Cobb are the two guys to keep an eye on. How do the Eagles bounce back?
Bradley Roby looked good too in the slot last week. So,
so I really hope we see more of that. And then last but not least, this is Milton Williams' time to shine. We haven't really gotten a chance to really talk about him, but you look at this guy, he has 0 sacks on the season, but he's been all over the place. 15th best in the NFL with a 15% pass rush win rate among defensive tackles. Over the last 2 weeks, Milton Williams has, in just limited snaps, 6 pressures, 2 quarterback hits, and 3 run blocks. This guy is really good, and I think we probably hear his name quite a bit in this one. Let's go to some comments. LOL at Anthony. Oh, yeah, the first row comment about throwing Aaron Rodgers. The Eagles should put up 40 points today. Absolutely. Anybody else have any other final thoughts before we get into player of the game prediction?
So I think Jalen Carter, and I know it's a precautionary thing, but he's 5 games into his career, and I think I mentioned it a couple weeks ago, Dives. He's the best player on this defense. So his loss will be felt a little bit, but it does help when they have that depth at defensive tackle. When you have Cox and Davis and Williams and Tui, whatever the hell his name is, Marlon T. I can't say his last name. And then Brandon Graham, I think last week played a little bit inside too. So I think it's going to help. And then, like you were just saying, and you guys are saying, get pressure on Zach Wilson, and that will negate Garrett Wilson's impact.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And then we have to talk about Hassan Reddick too. My goodness. I mean, the dude has been cooking these last 2 weeks. 3 sacks last 2 games, 10 pressures, 5 pressures a game, 6 quarterback hurries. Let's see that continue here. That would be great. From Hassan Reddick. Amoni says Eagles 45, Jets 10. Anthony says the Jets should not show up and just stay home. That would be nice.
That doesn't work that way, Anthony.
Yeah, it's the NFL.
Anthony, it's teams like the Jets that make you wonder why relegation isn't a thing in all sports, dude. As a soccer guy, the bottom 3 teams go down. 3 teams from that underleague come up. The Jets would never see the NFL again.
Detroit would have been the same way. Cleveland would be the same way.
Detroit, Cleveland, and the Jets all would be gone.
Absolutely. All right. Let's jump into our player of the game and score predictions. LJ, lead us off, man.
All right. So, again, we've mentioned it a lot during the show. The top 3 corners for the Jets are out. I'm going Devontae Smith as the player of the game. We saw last week he was a little frustrated. Hasn't had the ball thrown to him as much. And I mean, it's tough when AJ Brown's being the beast that he's been the last couple of weeks. It's tough not to go to him. But I think that Devontae Smith is going to have a huge game, over 100 yards and a touchdown. And I have the Eagles winning 27-14.
27-14 from LJ. What about you, Austin?
My player of the game, I have DeAndre Swift. I feel like this offensive line's really going to put a lot of work in again, just like they've done the past few weeks around. I mean, it may not be a huge yardage output, but I see 75 to 92 yards, maybe a couple touchdowns, getting that red zone offense back together. I have the Eagles winning this game 34-10.
I'm starting to get nervous.
It'd be nice to have a nice, easy win, and we're not stressing through the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
That would be super nice. I don't think it's going to be that high. I'm in the 28-10 range. I still think they are going to beat them by at least 2 scores. I think there could be times when this Eagles defense struggles a little bit. The Nakobe Dean getting back into the mix, that's going to be really interesting to watch. Quentin says player of the game is just win. The next 7 to 8 games are brutal. Isn't that facts, man? Just stay healthy and get ready for this next stretch because it gets really brutal. like Quentin says. Player of the game is Jake Elliott because he will get bored and kicking a lot of extra points. I mean, you could argue that Jake Elliott is the MVP of the season so far. Yeah, he's been terrific. My player of the game, I'm going to go Hassan Reddick. The way he's been cooking lately. Max Mitchell, the guy doesn't stand a chance. He's going to be lined up against him. I expect Reddick to come off the edge and beat him every time. If the Jets don't have a game plan to protect Max Mitchell, they're going to be in big trouble. Because as we know, as we've seen like again and again and again, when Hassan Reddick starts cooking, the dude is unblockable. And we have seen that the last 2 weeks. This could be another one of those things where Zach Wilson might not finish this game. That's how ugly it gets.
You saw what Robert Saleh said. He wants his team to kiss our guys, dude.
11 kisses?
He wants to give 11 kisses. Sounds like me with my kittens when I come home from work.
Anthony says, "Is Derek Barnett playing?" I haven't heard. Yeah, I don't really want to talk about him.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. The edge rush is fine.
Let's trade him. Let's trade him before the 31st. I know. I mean, no, give us a bag of footballs or something. Like we don't need him on the team.
Ralph says, "Not so brutal. The teams that are tough are having their own issues. Won't be easy, but winnable." And I can't wait for that Dolphins game.
Yeah, that stretch starting next week, man. Besides Washington, it's gonna be an interesting stretch. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, and any other like previous Eagles team would like look at this game as like they kind of just look over it and look into
the trap game.
Exactly, but this is Jalen Hurts we're talking about. This team, at least the last 2 years, have shown us they come prepared every single week. But if we want to look forward, they've got the Dolphins at home, the Commanders away, the Cowboys at home, the Chiefs away, the Bills at home, the Niners away, and the Cowboys.
The Niners is home.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it gets real starting next week, and this is why winning all these games that the Eagles have won up to this point. Dallas being 3-2, or what are you, 3-2, potentially losing tomorrow night to the Chargers. And if we win, it gives us a 3-game cushion on them. Like, I'm not really worried about the number 1 seed because, if there's a team that can go to San Francisco and win, I think it's the Eagles.
Yeah.
Especially playoff time with Jalen Hurts and whatnot. Like, I don't care about the number 1 seed. I just care about winning the division to guarantee at least one home playoff game. Absolutely.
And like LJ said at the start of the show, just freaking stay healthy, guys. Just stay healthy. Let's get through this. Let's come home on the bus with no more injuries because they've gotten definitely hurt by the injury bug. Quentin says Admiral Akbar has entered the chat to say, "It's a trap. It's a trap." All right. Let's roll on to plugs and final thoughts on the game. Austin, man, where can we find you? What do you got going on? Final thoughts.
Like you said at the top of the show, it's right here in this small little white bubble. You can catch me on Twitter over at Austin_EOP. Thursday nights at 9 p.m. here on EOP Sports, depending on the Phillies schedule, talking Philadelphia Union Soccer. I'm going to plug my Twitch because I occasionally play video games poorly. It's twitch.tv/Hambo26, HAMBO. It's always a fun time. I am horrible at video games, but I do it because I enjoy it. So if you get a chance, stop in and make fun of what I do because my decision making is very bad, unlike Jalen Hurts. So,
all right, he is at Austin_EOP. Go ahead,
also post game.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, I was going to plug that when it's my turn, but Austin and I will be doing post game when the clock hits 0. Go ahead, LJ.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at LJHarrell54 and then follow the Kelly Green Hour podcast on Twitter at Kelly Green Hour. We do Tuesday review of the previous game, Friday preview of the upcoming game, typically around 6:30, 7 o'clock. But yeah, tune in. Let us know. Get involved in the chat. We love all the back and forth discussion that we have.
Easily one of my favorite Eagles shows there is, period. LJ and Connor do such a good job breaking everything down, man. It's so good. Again, at LJ Harrell 54. Some comments real quick. Ralph says the issue is health. Just stay healthy. We have Tim in the house saying the Eagles suck. Go to hell, man.
Who is he?
Eagles should beat the Chiefs because they are struggling on offense. Refs keep saving.
They
the
have
Chiefs.
Patrick Mahomes. I don't care if they're struggling or not. We'll see. We'll see if Taylor Swift's in attendance for that game and
Oh my
what's
God.
she wearing. They might be at the game tonight or today. Travis and Taylor might be at the Eagles-Jets game today.
I can't. That's my least favorite story in all. I can't handle it. Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Mr. Crockpot. If you love the NFL draft, college football, tons of videos, shorts on the channel right now. My winners of the week are all out.
He's already got his top 150 players for the upcoming draft. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, easily. I'm definitely over 150. And if you are like me and you hate Quez Watkins, I've got a lot of fun wide receiver prospects from this week. It was like the week of the wide receiver. Yeah. So go check that out. And yeah, we will be doing a halftime live show, me and Shane. That's just like a quick 5 to 10 minute show. And then for post game, it'll be Austin and I, and who am I missing? Pat Bernard will be joining us as well, talking top reactions, grades, you name it. So guys, please be sure to give this video a like. If you love the Philadelphia Eagles, he is Austin. That is LJ. I am Dives. Thank you so much for watching. Go Birds. We'll see you at halftime. Stay awesome, everyone.